Hey there, guys. I'm James Wilson.
And I'm Matthew Rowney.
And welcome to episode 4 of the Who Addicts podcast. Very exciting, this one, because we are going to be letting rip and talking about the 60th anniversary specials coming up from November next year. So we've just had the 59th anniversary. So I'm pretty, I'm honestly, I think this must have been how I felt when I knew that the 50th was coming, but it felt so far away, you know? And I remember that time when we were on the channel before and when we first started, really, and we were kind of just building up this momentum of the 50th. And now, next year, the 50th will have been 10 years ago. Where is time going? Seriously, I need a TARDIS just so I can make time go just that little bit slower, because it's going far too fast.
It's crazy, isn't it? When we started this channel, we were building up to the 50th, and here we are, both sat, building up to the 60th. Oh my God. I mean,
it's insane.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely mad. I mean, when it comes to Christmas 2023, we're going to then have to go, oh, right, it's 10 years since Matt Smith left and Peter Capaldi came in. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of moments of us feeling ancient.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That's going to be great.
Yeah, I know. We're going to feel like dinosaurs, like the one that was in the Thames in Deep Breath, which the year after that will be also 10 years.
Right.
Okay. Let's do this before I start having an existential crisis.
I can feel the grey hairs just like trying to poke their way through. But
yeah.
Yes, the 60th. And when we say 60th anniversary, we should say specials, because what we know so far is that it will be a 3-part celebration, and it will be starring David Tennant as the 14th Doctor, of course. Catherine Tate is returning as Donna Noble. We've also got Ncuti Gatwa in there in some form. An unknown villain played by Neil Patrick Harris, of course, who we will also speculate on. And the whole 2008 cast are returning. Bernard Cribbins is returning as Wilfred Mott. You've got Jacqueline King as Sylvia Noble. She's coming back. You've got Carl Collin as Sean Temple, of course, Donna's husband. Yasmin Finney is going to be playing Rose, who we assume is their daughter. So let's just start with our general thoughts on what is the 60th at the moment, because, I mean, there probably was a time, I don't know about you, where I wasn't even sure there would be a 60th. So with the teaser trailer that we've had, the very few filming pics, how are you feeling towards the 60th anniversary special and what it looks like we're going to be getting at this moment?
I'm very excited for what's to come, because Donna Noble, because the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble had the best chemistry out of the previous 2 companions before her.
Best duo. Best duo.
Yeah. Best duo ever. Because there was nothing remotely romantic about the 2 of them, which Russell and David and everyone involved must have been thinking of that as a total godsend, because both Rose and Martha were infatuated with the Doctor. So it was nice to see a companion at that time that wasn't fitting into that like romantic involvement with the Doctor type of thing. And I think she kind of humbled the 10th Doctor a bit.
Yeah.
After 2 companions in a row that he was that kind of,
they just fell head
we're
over
in love.
heels.
We're in love with him. We're in love with him. The 10th Doctor must have been getting a bit big for his boots, or a bit big for his Converse at that point.
Yes.
And must have been like, oh, I'm so good, me. Yeah, like I'm actually quite handsome, me, aren't I? And then Donna Noble comes along and just basically bursts his bubble a bit, and I can't help but still love that to this day. Yeah. And just seeing that Doctor and Donna tribute video that was released.
Yes, last week on Doctor Who Day.
Yeah, when that was released, I was honestly, it made me want to go back and watch Series 4 all the way through, because it just reminded me of why I love this duo so much. So I'm extremely excited to see that come back. Obviously, it's going to be quite bittersweet, really, because it will be the final time that we saw that we get to see Bernard Cribbins play Wilfred Moss. We never thought he'd ever play him again. Never mind it be his final performance in anything. So that
there's a certain beauty to that. I think that he's got that chance to return one more time, and that was his last role. I feel proud as a Doctor Who fan to say Bernard Cribbins' final role was in Doctor Who as Wilf, who is one of the best characters of the RTD era. So there's a certain beauty to that, I think. Yeah,
there absolutely is. You're bang on there, and I mean it's going to be quite sad if Russell had to write around the specials to account for Bernard Cribbins dying. So if there was more scenes planned, but Bernard had passed away sadly before doing them, if that's the case, then it's going to be even sadder. And it's going to be good to maybe get to know, see where Donna's at in her life currently, where she is going to be in that time in her life. I didn't even realize that enough time had passed where Donna and her husband have a teenage daughter. I didn't even realize enough time had passed.
Again, old. We're just old, mate. That's how long ago Series 4 was. It was, I mean, it's, oh Christ, it's 14 years ago. Well, it'll be 15 years ago next year.
Yeah.
Oh,
so is this character going to be 15?
I think she's playing a 15, 16-year-old, I'm sure of it, yeah. So, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So
this episode's going to be full of midlife crisis.
I know. It's just like, I mean, classic fans are looking at us and going, "Oh, shut up." The people I've been around.
You're only babies.
I've been around the entire 60 years. Shut up, you young whippersnappers.
You fetus.
You little fetuses. So yeah, I can imagine classic fans just absolutely hating us for talking about how old we feel, but it is crazy how much time seems to have passed between the last time we saw Donna Noble, and it's going to be interesting to see where her family's at. Get to know her husband maybe a little bit, because he wasn't really kind of that big of a character in End of Time. So it'd be great to see that, and also why the Doctor has went to go and see Donna. Yeah. Like, has he just thought, "Oh wow, I'm this face again, so okay, I'll go and see some people that I as this face never thought I'd see again, so I'll go and see Donna." So is that the case, or is the universe still trying to bring the Doctor and the Noble family together?
I've got a theory on that, I've got a little theory on that, which I'll keep to myself until we discuss it in more detail. But that is interesting. Yeah,
it will be interesting to see if even after all this time, Donna's became the Dr. Donna, helped save the universe from a Dalek Empire and Davros. Even her grandfather was the one that fricking killed off the 10th Doctor in the first place.
Yeah.
Even after that, is he going to be like, "My God, is the universe still got plans for you?" I mean, how? I thought we were done.
It still hasn't quite. They kept saying, didn't they, in Journey's End, it's all leading up to something. Maybe it's still not led to it yet. Maybe there's still one last little twist that the Doctor and the Dr. Donna has.
I'd love that feeling for the Russell, where it felt like he'd never left. When we eventually get round to his first full episodes back, it's gonna be really exciting to see if this kind of carries off a story that was continuing when he'd left. Like 12 years ago with End of Time Part 2, if he's continuing just stories that he thought, oh, I never really finished all that off. So if we get to see some of that, I'd be like, that's typical Russell. He's gone for 12 years. He hasn't been a Doctor Who head writer for over a decade, and it still feels like he's just picking up where he left off. So it's going to be interesting to see that, as well as something new going forward with Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited personally. I mean, if you'd have asked me to pick the TARDIS duo that I'd want back in the 60th, before 13 regenerated, before Tennant was even the 14th Doctor, I'd have said I want to see Ten and Donna back in the 60th. They'd be because they are my favourite TARDIS duo. It's my favourite Doctor, my favourite companion from my favourite series. It's just, that is like the golden era for me. So they would have been the two I would have picked. But for it to be the 14th Doctor and not the 10th is so interesting. So let's start with that. Now, we've both made individual videos on it. Apparently, the reason as to why David's back, I mean, obviously it was speculated that it was because Russell wanted a safe Doctor to obviously get viewers in after the gradual decline in viewership. And obviously David Tennant just sells. You know, you look at the figures that have been released for Doctor Who Day last week. They've gone. His first DWM went. David Tennant sells, right? So he's probably brought him back for that. Disney, obviously, with Disney deal, you have David Tennant on the face of Doctor Who when Disney take it over is a big deal. And I've seen countless fans on Twitter already say, my God, I need to catch up on the Chris Chibnall era now because David's back. You know, it's actually making fans, even as far back as Matt Smith's era, go, I'm going to catch up because David's back. It's just the way it is. But at the same time, another reasoning has been because Ncuti simply wasn't free.
Yes, and he was shooting the film Barbie with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling at the time.
Yeah, so that's the other reason as to maybe why they didn't have Ncuti in time for the 60th. They wanted a 60th and they needed a Doctor for the 60th. And if you look at the availability, Chibnall's just pretty much nicked all the classic Doctors in one episode. Eccleston won't do it. Capaldi said he won't do it. Matt, we don't know. So David was the only option. So who knows what the real reason is? But we've both expressed very, very different opinions in our own solo videos on David Tennant returning. So let's just open up that can of worms once again. Your thoughts, James. By the way, guys, context. This guy, David Tennant's his idol. Has been his idol since he was a kid when he wanted to be an actor, a writer. David Tennant was his favourite. Idol, actor, Doctor, the lot. Yeah, you don't like the idea that he's back as the 14th Doctor. Why?
Yeah, sort of doubling up on that point. I had a 10th Doctor cardboard cutout for any OG subscribers out there. You could see him in the background of a great deal of some of my solo videos from the past. So sadly, the David Tennant cardboard cutout was lost during the great uni move of 2017. So
Daleks invaded his bedroom and exterminated the cardboard.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But sadly, yes, it was actually due to a leak in the ceiling. Yeah, and somehow it started to so David kind of got soaked through, and
water always wins.
Yes, water always wins, and this time the waters of Mars did beat the Time Lord victorious at this point.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. So as we all know, wet cardboard is unsalvageable. Oh. So it was not doable. So yes, but anyway, I digress. Back to the point. No, I am not a fan of David Tennant coming back as the 14th Doctor, because to me, again, I'm going to be repeating myself a bit from my solo video, so go and check that out as well. But But it's just simply a fact that I just feel like it's getting rid of a very valuable message in Doctor Who, and something that I've always loved since the end of time, which is a story I feel like is slightly ruined a little bit. But yeah, I just think that a valuable lesson in Doctor Who is that once a Doctor is gone, once they've regenerated, they're gone. It's one of the reasons why a Doctor is a little bit upset whenever they leave. We've seen it with, I mean, Christopher Eccleston left of his own accord, so he was probably glad to be walking out the door.
Skipping out the door.
Yeah. But David Tennant the first time round, all these Doctors, they leave of their own choice, but a part of them doesn't want to go. And so with Matt Smith as well, and with Peter Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker as well, all these actors that have played the part, and probably classic Doctors before them as well, have all loved this role so much that they don't really want to leave. And I feel like that's partly because regeneration is such a solid, finite, concrete goodbye.
Yeah,
there's no walking off into the sunset, and then
it's death, isn't it? It's death.
There's no walking off into the sunset and then being able to come back. I mean, I did exactly that, but exactly that.
He's done a David, or David's done a him.
Yeah, exactly. David's copying me. It's okay. He can take everything I have. It's just that regeneration to me always seemed like such a definitive thing, and a lot of people on that solo video commented saying, well, it's not entirely out of the blue or anything, because Tom Baker came back and pretty much said that someday he will come back to old faces and revisit some of the old favourites, but I wasn't too much of a fan of that being a possibility when that happened in the 50th either. Like, I wasn't too fond of the, like, I thought that was just a one-off, weak reason in order for the Fourth Doctor to be back, but
it was very sort of like forced in by Moffat. It made no sense at the time. He's lucky that it makes more sense now than it did back then.
Yeah, but even then, I was like, people brought up that idea of, the Doctor can come back as old faces, and even then, I was a bit like, there's just something about regeneration that just feels so final. The Doctors can come back as we go backwards into the Doctor's timeline and such, and Doctors can meet up, and that's really fun. But the idea of an actor coming back and being the Doctor again is just, to me, just really kind of gets rid of a vital part of it. And part of the dialogue in The End of Time is kind of lost on me now, where those emotional moments where he just goes, some new man goes sauntering away and I'm dead, where he gets really choked up about the idea of regeneration. I'd never seen that in a regeneration story before, of the Doctor, being so affected by regeneration that, he can die, someone shoots him during regeneration, then he's dead. Dead, kaput, done for. But to see that Doctor getting so choked up about the idea of changing, which he's already done so many times before, it sort of cemented in me that, this might have been how every Doctor has felt, that they can never be that person again. Like, it almost felt that was why Matt Smith's Doctor was a little bit sad too. Yeah. Just like, I will always remember this. It felt like he was saying, I will always remember this, because a part of him knew that he was never going to be that man again. He was never going to be him. I will always remember when the Doctor was me. And that, for partly, felt like that was because we were never going to have Matt Smith as our current Doctor again. So, that's just basically how I feel. the regeneration just feels so final and cement that it suddenly happening that an old Doctor, the Doctor is currently wearing an old face. It just, to me, feels like a little bit of the show's message is lost a tad.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, I can see where you're coming from in terms of like the narrative and why it, how it affects the story and the mythology, I guess. I mean, it depends on why he's back. I mean, I've always kind of looked on it more of a logistical sort of thing. Like, he's back to boost viewing figures, he's back to boost merch, he's back for like that corporate side as well as anything. Obviously, he probably is a bridge doctor in terms of Tutti not being available. So it's hard to judge it on the real reason why Russell has went with David. It's a tough one, but in terms of the story, I can see exactly where you're coming from in terms of, obviously there's moments where you look, especially the 10th Doctor. I mean, any Doctor returning would have been a strange thing, but the fact that it was the Doctor who had that big emotional, like, I don't want to go sort of thing, like, he's never coming back, this is literally it, he doesn't want to go because he's going to be gone forever, and then he's that face again. I can see where you're coming from in terms of your concerns, but I'm sort of them concerns are just overshadowed by just my sheer excitement for David being back. When he appeared on the screen, I saw some reaction videos of people who were a bit like, oh, like, it's David, But for me, I just felt this. It was like an injection of adrenaline for Doctor Who to see him back as the Doctor. I don't know if it was a bit of nostalgia or what, but a bit of excitement too to see him back. And it just made me unbelievably excited for the future. And I think it's gave a lot of fans that sort of jab in the arm that they needed to go, I'm watching this again. So I think a big reason is for that. And I think it's probably had that effect on a lot of fans. I can't wait to see how well the 60th does in terms of viewers and stuff. But I'm also just really excited to see what Russell does with this. He has to do something with it. He can't just have the 14th Doctor back because he just is. So I would be very intrigued as to see why he's reverted back to that old face. Why he's gone back to where Donna is. I think there's a narrative reason for this. I hope there is, because I feel like critics or skeptics like yourself who are questioning why they've done this, or why they could have just waited for Tutti to be free, or why they could have just put the 10th Doctor in instead of the 14th. I really do hope Russell writes a reason in that can make you go, okay, I get it, fair enough. And I think that could be to do with what the Master did to 13, when he obviously made her sort of regenerate into him, and then we don't know if he degenerated back into 13 or then went forward back into 13. But I think, forced regeneration is known to be a very risky thing. It's been mentioned many, many times. 13 mentioned it in Power of the Doctor. Forced regeneration is a very risky thing. I think only the Time Lords can do it. Obviously, they did it to the second Doctor. So I think if Russell can write a reasoning as to why this has happened, I think it'll be great. And I think it could be around that forced, regeneration. It screwed up the Doctor's body. The Doctor's body is confused. He doesn't know who he is. He even says, I don't know who I am anymore in the trailer. And he's wondering why the hell I've reverted back to this body. Because I just think the whole regeneration, the whole insides of the Doctor's body is just absolutely confused and a bit of a mess after what the Master did. So I hope he writes that in. But at the same time, I am just excited that David Tennant's back, because let's be fair, he would have been back anyway. He would have been back as the 10th Doctor next year, undoubtedly, probably with Donna. I think maybe the main gripe is that Tutti's not leading the 60th with the 10th Doctor. Why is David the centre stage current 14th Doctor? So I can see both sides, but for me, my excitement is just too much. It's blinding everything else.
Yeah, no, I don't want to have too much of a critical mind on this one, because it is still David, and I still love him, and I love his charisma and his charm and his undoubtable sexiness on screen, and I don't want to be that guy that just doesn't that isn't looking forward to it. I am very much open to an explanation of sorts. I've even thought about ways in which that I could possibly get on board with it. I thought of ways in which, you know, like if it is like if the Edge from the Power of the Doctor, if that is involved in the 60th, and that does seem to be where Ncuti is being held in that small clip. So it does seem to be, and he is most certainly in a sort of unbuttoned, sort of dishevelled looking version of exactly what David as the 14th Doctor is wearing. So it definitely seems to be leading to something where the Edge is involved. So maybe we might need the Guardians of the Edge again. So maybe we might be seeing David Bradley as the first Doctor, Paul McGann, Colin Baker. So seeing them back again, maybe 2 episodes in a row would be brilliant, and I think that'd also be exciting. I'm all the way there for any classic Doctors coming back in.
Just get McGann in.
Yeah,
he should have been the 14th. To be fair,
yeah. No matter how many times they want to come back, I'm in. So maybe we might be seeing the Guardians of the Edge once again, and so. Yeah, it just, I am all there for any kind of explanation of how David's coming back. Maybe, maybe the Master just, obviously the Master wouldn't have cared enough to do the forced regeneration effectively. Yeah. So the Time Lords, they wanted to punish the Doctor, but they maybe did it well enough to Patrick Troughton's second Doctor, where they were like, right, okay, we want to exile him to Earth and put him in a body, but we don't want to screw up his body, you know, beyond because that could cause some serious problems for the Doctor. So, and I kind of thought of a theory in which multiple Doctors can be around without, you know, going back in the timeline and stuff. Like maybe the 14th Doctor, maybe that David is just the first body to come up. Like maybe throughout the episodes, he kind of changes backwards and forwards between him and Matt Smith.
He's like an interface that just keeps glitching out. Oh, that's a great idea. That
like he just keeps kind of like glitching in and out of different bodies.
Yeah, that's a great idea, dude.
Yeah. So I think that would be pretty cool to just suddenly out of nowhere, David's 14th Doctor just seems to be kind of like retching and writhing in pain, and then suddenly, boom, he's Matt Smith again.
Wow, you're getting me excited. Stop it.
Yeah. Let's not get too excited. Yeah. It's literally just a fantastical thought at this point, but I thought it would be a great way to not exclude other actors who've played the Doctor, and not to go, oh well, why is it David? Why David? Well, we know why David, because he's arguably the most popular Doctor that we have today. But I do think that it would be rather exciting to, and I never know whether or not to take actors like Christopher Eccleston and Peter Capaldi at their word anymore, because a certain actor called Andrew Garfield with Spider-Man No Way Home has ruined my ability to take any actor at their word when they say that they're not involved in something. I'm sorry, but
Andrew he did well though. He did well. I believed him.
I know, but that's the whole point. I believed Andrew Garfield, and I'm sorry, but he's given me trust issues. He's a really good actor. I don't know whether to believe actors anymore.
Well, that's their job. Know. Their job's to act. So I guess if anyone was good at lying about being in a role or not, it would be the actor, surely. So
I know. So Peter Capaldi and Christopher Eccleston are seemingly the only modern Who actors that have straight up ruled out any live action returns, at least. So yeah, I mean,
Christopher Eccleston popped up.
Yeah, if Capaldi popped up, I know that you've been going through quite quite a surge of newfound Capaldi love.
Oh,
so,
yes.
So that would be extremely exciting to see him back in a capacity. And what if we got the shock of a lifetime and it was Chris?
I mean, the world would explode. I think the
world would explode. I mean, like the entire fandom would implode and then just die. I think that would be Russell's way of giving us mass murder in a good way.
What a way to go out, though! Seeing Chris Eccleston on screen, what a way to go out that would be. I'd take that.
I know. Like that would just be brilliant. I mean, he's kind of softened over the years, don't you think? Like. There was a time when I don't think he'd have revisited his version of the Doctor at all whatsoever, full stop.
Yeah.
And then he goes and starts doing Big Finish audios. So now I'm kind of like, oh, is he slowly but surely kind of going through, like, I don't know, how long ago was his series? Like,
let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I know, but like, like over the last 17 to 18 years, maybe he's been going, no, I'm never coming back.
No, I'm not going back there.
No, never coming back. No. Well,
don't touch the baby.
Well, maybe
I will.
Yeah, maybe a couple. Only my voice, though. Only my voice. Go on then, let's be in the 60th. You know, like I'd love for that to be the case, and I'm not getting my hopes up, but just the mere concept of the idea of just the Doctor kind of glitching in and out of Doctors in and out, it's quite an exciting concept, and I think it would kind of make me a lot more comfortable with David coming back as the 14th Doctor if other Doctors were involved, like they were kind of taking turns in being the current Doctor again. So it wasn't so like, oh, it's just David, it's just him, you know?
Yeah, I love that theory, actually. That reminds me, I don't know if you've heard of a character in Big Finish called the 11, who is a Time Lord who basically has 11 different incarnations at once. So he's a Time Lord who has like all these regenerations, but at the same time, basically it's a Time Lord with what's it called? It's like split personality disorder. You know, when someone has like numerous personalities that just change day to day. Well, that's a bit like what the 11 is. So to see the Doctor be a bit like the 11 and just flip in and out of different personas would be amazing. I'd love that. It's a great theory. What I will say, though, and I was going to leave this question until the end of the pod, but I think it's probably a good time to touch upon it now. It's been a hot topic, obviously, with it being an anniversary on how many Doctors are we going to see? Is it going to be multi-Doctor? Sorry, anyone else going to return? Obviously, actors are going to say they're not going to return. They're not going to rock up in an interview and say, "Yeah, I'm in it. I'll see you there." You know, they're not going to say that. So I guess, as much as we want to theorize and speculate and, you know, all these amazing theories, how many Doctors do you think, heart in hearts, are we going to see? Because for me personally, I think we're just going to have David and Ncuti. As much as I would love to see the others, I think the classic Doctors just being in Power of the Doctor, I think Chibnall's got in there first and Chibnall's like, haha, I've got the classic Doctors first. I don't think they'll be in it as much as I'd love them to be. And I, despite my Andrew Garfield trust issues, I believe Chris and Peter. And also at a convention, it might have been LFCC, Matt Smith was asked at a panel whether he was in it. And obviously he said, no, he isn't. He's going to say that, I know. But in your heart of hearts, do you think we're going to see any of the Doctors? Because maybe I'm just putting my expectations as low as possible so that I can only be surprised in a great way. But I believe, following the Power of the Doctor even more, so to be fair, I thought this even before Power of the Doctor, but seeing all them classic Doctors return has cemented this opinion even more. I think it is just going to be the 14th Doctor, David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa. I do. As much as I want to believe otherwise.
Yeah. If I'm to ground my feet firmly on the ground, I would say yes. I think the same thing. I do think that it is only going to be David Tennant as the 14th Doctor and Ncuti Gatwa as the 15th Doctor.
Is that a shame?
No.
You look back at other anniversary specials, the 3 Doctors, the 5 Doctors, the 50th. Is that disappointing for it to not be a?
Well, I mean, it's not the first time that an anniversary special hasn't been a multi-Doctor story. I mean, there was Remembrance of the Daleks with the 7th Doctor. That had no other Doctors in it. It just had nods to the past. In fact, it was
set in 1963, wasn't it? With the
it was set during Coal Hill School, and they went back to Totter's Lane, and a very confusing fourth wall break, where a television was actually going to say, and now for a new TV series on the BBC, Doctor, and then switched it off. And that will forever make me go, okay, that was a Deadpool moment that I don't know if I can get on board with. Like the Doctor being that meta, I just don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for Doctor Who to venture outside of any other ideas besides the whole multi-Doctor thing. But it is something that I think Russell is smart enough where he's thinking of exploring other ways in which you can celebrate this show.
Yeah.
That there's not always needing to be just because it's a time travel show. Naturally, because it's a time travel show, the Doctor Who is pretty much one of the only shows that it is possible where other actors playing the same part can meet up.
I mean, pretty much the only one.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, pretty much.
That makes sense, anyway.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man: No Way Home had to set that up first before the other Spider-Men came into it. But Doctor Who has that story already pretty much planted right into its core.
It could happen at any time if you think about it.
It could happen at any time. That's why I was so shocked with Power of the Doctor. I know it was like a centenary special, but it was for the BBC's 100th birthday. So I was still kind of shocked that I saw other Doctors in there. That might be more of a 60th anniversary celebration than the actual 60th might be.
It could be, yeah.
If that makes any sense. If we're only going to get a modern Doctor and the incoming Doctor, and the Power of the Doctor had the first Doctor, the fifth Doctor, the sixth Doctor, the seventh Doctor, the eighth Doctor.
I think it was 9 Doctors in total.
Yeah,
so crazy.
If we had all these Doctors. It might just be that Power of the Doctor was more of a 60th celebration, and the 60th will be more of a, kind of wrapping up some modern Who storylines, ones that we would have gotten with Donna Noble.
The more I think about it, I'm actually all for it not being a multi-Doctor story, I think. Well, it technically is because we've got, let's not forget, Ncuti's in it to some extent. So it technically is a multi-Doctor story, but I guess in terms of like older Doctors meeting up or Doctors we've never seen meet up before, there's maybe a tinge of disappointment that that's not the case. But I do like the idea that Russell is wanting to maybe do something a bit different and seeing this as the start of a new era. I mean, how many eras have started on a 60th or a special like this? So I think Russell's maybe using it as an opportunity to look forward rather than look back and, use it as a major jumping on point. Obviously, like the 50th did, it's going to probably get a lot of casual viewers back who've never watched the show in years. So what a time to make the show accessible. What a time to have a jumping on point where casual fans can return and not be worried about knowing who this is, that is, who Ncuti's Doctor is, what's gone on. Make it fresh, clean slate going forward. Introduce Ncuti's Doctor to a you know, let's be fair, he's going to be introduced to a lot more fans than other Doctors may have been. It's the perfect opportunity to springboard Ncuti's era, really. It's going to bring back all these viewers who want to come back and see David, but then they're also going to be introduced to Ncuti at the same time, and I'm hoping, and I think Russell is too, that he can keep them hooked, and the viewers who've come back to see David will stay for Ncuti. So I think it's probably better, just because of the circumstances, that he uses this as an opportunity to look forward. Because I remember me and you at first were a bit concerned that Ncuti was debuting in a 60th. He was debuting with David. Will he be overshadowed? Is it unfair that he's debuting at a time like this? But I think Russell could use it to Ncuti's advantage in a big, big way. Yeah. And it could really propel this new era. And it could send it into the stratosphere and open it up to an audience who are either brand new or an audience who have left for a while. So I'm warming to the idea of him doing this. And plus, I look back and I think, well, if the only Doctor he can bring back's Matt Smith, why would he want to basically just copy the 50th? Like, what? I know, obviously, we'd love to see Matt come back, and it would be exciting to see him with 14 and David again, but we saw that in the 50th. So would it all be that exciting to see 11 and 14 again? I mean, would Russell want to just repeat the 50th? Probably not. So the more I think about it, the more I am warming to the idea of this being more a special that looks forward than looks back, because Power of the Doctor's just done that job, essentially.
Yeah.
So you don't need 2 episodes in a row that both look back to the past. So I think he should use this to spark life into Ncuti's era.
Yeah, to sort of build a strong foundation for Ncuti to go off of. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think I mean, as much as I don't hate Chibnall's era as a lot of people clearly do, I can't deny it. There is the Chibnall has kind of left Doctor Who fans in a very questioning their allegiance to the show kind of way. So it is going to be necessary for Russell. I'm kind of, you know, I'm kind of warming up to it. I'm kind of, you know, softening on the concept that I'm starting to accept the fact that, okay, Russell needs to do something to bring people back and to put the show on a good track again,
especially with Disney coming in.
Yeah, especially with Disney coming in, and Disney, Disney aren't gonna miss Doctor Who if it doesn't work out. Disney aren't gonna miss it. It's just an extra feather in their cap that they can have. It's not. They're not going to miss our cult British show, are they? So if Russell and didn't make Doctor Who work out for Disney, Disney aren't going to hesitate to drop Doctor Who in an instant. Then they're going to lose no sleep over it. Disney are an entertainment giant, so they. In fact, they make giants seem like ants. So yeah. They're not going to miss it at all. So it is important for Russell to really put the show on a route that can make where he can say to Disney, right, this is a franchise that you want to get behind, and this is what Doctor Who is capable of, and make it. And as I said in my last solo video, make it stratospheric, and put it on a good footing. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, they keep using the word global, which I think says it all.
Yeah, it certainly does.
On to another big return. Obviously, we also have Catherine Tate back as Donna Noble, who I, of course, have stressed is my favourite companion. We could go on and on. Well, yeah, we could go on and on about
next to Sarah Jane Smith. Next to Sarah Jane Smith for me, I think. Yeah,
of course. But Donna being back, this is an interesting one because, and we spoke about this briefly before we started recording. I'm kind of a little bit more in the boat with Donna like you are with Tennant. Obviously, I'm all excited for Tennant being back. You're excited too, but you've got a few skepticisms. I'm kind of a bit like that with Donna. I'm ecstatic she's back. I love her character. Like I said at the start, they would be my pick to return every time. But I'm kind of wondering, and I don't want to, I'm stealing your quote here from what you literally said before the podcast started, so forgive me. But Russell is writing himself into a corner, like you said, because the whole Donna Noble story was that she'd, again, it's Russell going back on some of his best episodes. You mentioned earlier about, what the end of time meant to you and how that could be affected potentially. It's putting that at risk with David being back. I sort of look at this and think of Journey's End, that heartbreaking end where she had to forget all of her adventures and she went from being this extraordinary woman who was revered around the universe. She still was, but she forgot it all. And to her, she just went back to being a normal person again. One of the most heartbreaking departures in all of Doctor Who. And then, of course, he managed to somehow bring her back in the end of time, but work his way around her, her potential. Even then, to be fair, he said that if she saw the Doctor, her mind would explode and she would die. She still did see the Master in the end of time and her mind still exploded, but she didn't die. So I guess she got away with one there. But he worked around it. Obviously, there was a lovely scene at the end with the lottery ticket. You assume that they're off in the sunset, filthy rich, to live their best life without the Doctor. So I am questioning how he is going to write Donna back into this, because I feel like he is putting a lot of them stories and a lot of them great endings and a lot of, like you said, with David and the regeneration, all them sort of finite endings. They were endings. He's opening a lot of them back up again when they probably are best left alone. So I'm excited for Donna to be back, don't get me wrong, but I'm sort of wondering how the hell is he going to write her back into this? And I'm a bit cautious as to how that is going to work. Will she recognize him? Will she not? What if she sees him? Will her head explode? Yeah, I know you feel quite similar to me about this. I'm excited, but very, very, I don't know if cautious or skeptical is the right word, but I'm really curious as to how the hell this is going to work, because he could have easily brought back Martha or, a companion whose story was still very much open-ended. They could just pick back up effortlessly and continue to develop. But Donna's felt very much like it was the end. So is he right to bring her back, or is he putting a few of his best stories at risk here?
I think he is. I think there's no doubt why he brought Donna back. I mean, easily the most popular companion paired with the 10th Doctor. So there's no doubt as to why. It's the same answer that you'd give as to why David Tennant's back. Because he's popular. Why would you bring Catherine Tate back?
Yeah.
Because the two of them together are freaking lightning. So there's no surprise as to why. But of course, the interesting part now is how.
Yeah.
And it's and like you said, or like you said, emanating what I said.
You could take the credit for this. This was your point, not mine.
The point to me is that Russell is a talented and enough writer. In fact, Doctor Who genius is more the right word. I have no doubt in my mind that this genius will have found a way around this, but it's just a case of, for me, not making it seem forced or something that in something that will kind of make sense, like something that I can go, right, okay, right, I'm in this now. I get how Donna's got her memories back and how she's able to remember the Doctor without, going. So I get that. That's possible. That's great. So, or maybe they've worked around it in a way where Donna Noble specifically could not remember her adventures with the 10th Doctor. People keep saying including yourself, keep saying that that's only if she remembers the 10th Doctor. Everyone keeps saying that this is a different Doctor. I ain't buying it. The suit's an archetype of the 10th Doctor. He still sounds the same to me. His hair's still the same. He referenced the same freaking lines. To me, he's 10.2, not 14. But maybe that's the way that Russell's worked around it, is that this is technically a different Doctor. So it was only if it was 10 that if we did do kind of like going back in time and seeing the 10th Doctor again, then maybe Donna would be in trouble. But because it's a new Doctor wearing an old face, maybe Donna's mind is spared. But I don't know. That's kind of the only thing I can think of that can justify this, because like was said, Russell's written himself into a really difficult situation, and it would have made more sense for Martha to come back, because the last time we met her, she was still fighting aliens, left unit, and was chasing aliens with Mickey Smith. For obvious reasons, he ain't coming back. But Martha could have easily came back and would have been a solo act all these years, and has still been fighting aliens and stuff. She'd be tougher, she'd be rougher, she'd be in some ways I always saw Martha as very innocent and very.
She'd be amazing. Think of where she'd be now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that she was quite strong-willed by the end of Series 3 anyway. Yeah. So, in fact, even before then, when she was forced to look after the Doctor when he turned himself human, I thought that Martha was a very strong character at that point. I was like, okay, she's no longer just some weak character that's just there to fawn over the Doctor and to be the Doctor's rebound companion from Rose. So she's not like that anymore. And definitely after spending that 1 year traveling around the world, telling everyone about the Doctor, that year that never happened and only she and her family could remember, that definitely cemented her as a lot stronger than I originally thought she was at the time. So yeah, I think Martha, it would be great to explore her. Again, I can see why Donna's back, but again, Donna had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a pretty well cemented end that was, she had a lottery ticket, and she's probably. I definitely wouldn't have stayed as a temp in Chiswick, So that's something that kind of confuses me. There is that wouldn't she be jetting off to
maybe the Doctor gave her the wrong ticket.
Yeah.
He was like, well, we've sat there like, here we go, and Donna's like, oh, I've only got one number, and he's like, what? 10 just pranked them.
Yeah, just like Wilford. And then there's the 10th Doctor, just like, that's what you get for giving me the 4 knocks.
Yeah, that's what you get for killing me.
Yeah, but that would be quite funny. But yeah, it's just, I don't know where you could take these characters now and how you could rewrite that. But I have no doubt in my mind that Russell has found a way to work around it. It's just a case of if it's not forced and actually makes sense.
Yeah, that's the big question. Has he brought back the wrong companion? I mean, it's down to him. I mean, we, like you say, we've got to trust in Russell. How he's going to write himself, how he's going to write this, all of this out. I don't think he's going to just bring them back for the sake of, oh, it's David Tennant and Catherine Tate. Look, everyone, and the fans aren't just going to buy it for the sake of it being them. I'm sure he's going to write a legitimate, good enough reason as to why both the 14th Doctor is here and is the same face as 10, and Donna is in the episode as well and is able to have adventures with him without being at any risk of death or anything. And to be fair, Russell actually referred to this. There's a quote on Radio Times where he says, "They're back and it looks impossible." Exactly. He says, "First we announce a new doctor and then an old doctor along with wonderful Donna. What on earth is happening? Maybe this is a missing story or a parallel world or a dream, a trick or a flashback. The only thing I can confirm is that it's going to be spectacular as two of our greatest stars reunite for the battle of a lifetime." He even says the Doctor and Donna parted ways when the Doctor had wiped Donna's memory, making her forget him in order to save her life. He left her family with a warning that if she ever remembers, she will die. But with the two coming face to face once more, the big question is just what brings the Doctor and Donna back together. So Russell has basically addressed this on the nose. He has punched this as hard as possible on the tip of its nose, which makes me convinced he has got an answer for it. But he mentioned a few interesting things here, which, I mean, this opens up a whole wide array of possibilities. So, parallel world, dream, trick, or flashback. What do you think?
I have always wanted Doctor Who to explore parallel worlds more.
Yeah.
Because I don't see that enough in Doctor Who, and it seems like such a no-brainer at times for Doctor Who to explore parallel realities. There are just so many infinite possibilities with that, but then it might end up starting to look like Rick and Morty, so I don't know. But because so I don't know if you add Doctor Who traveling in the TARDIS through time and space and other universes, that expands it to an infinite level.
It opens it up even more, doesn't it?
Yeah, it opens up the show to billions more possibilities. Doctor Who could have its own Marvel spin-off called What If?
It could, yeah. Like, imagine that. Wow.
Yeah, you could have all sorts. I mean, it would just be really interesting. We could... Oh, Jesus. I saw a fan-made poster of multiple versions of David Tennant as the Doctor throughout his whole run.
There's already there's like four of them already.
I know. His original 10th. I think what was in it was his original 10th Doctor, his 14th Doctor, the Meta Crisis Doctor, and him as human John Smith. And
there's the post Stolen Earth 10th Doctor as well, because he regenerated.
Yes.
Into himself. He could have an anniversary special all on its own.
Yeah,
literally.
you really could.
You could have the 5 Doctors again with 5 David Tennants.
Given that I am in love with that man, I think that would just be too much for my mind to handle. Never mind Donna blowing up, I bloody would.
To quote Captain Jack, I can't tell you what I'm thinking right now. 5 David Tennants.
Yes. That just makes me far too excited. That's just that mere concept. I think it's far too silly for Russell or David to even take that seriously, but it's just that there are just so many possibilities with that. Seeing what the meta... I mean, that is an actual question. If it's a parallel world, why not go back to Pete's world? What if this is a parallel version of Donna that never got her memories erased and was able to keep them and was allowed to keep them?
Who says we're not on Pete's world? Does that open up the return of Rose?
Yeah. I mean, there are a ton of set pieces from filming that look a lot like Cybermen stuff that I've seen here and there. And Pete's world's main kind of enemy was the Cybermen, as that was the universe that we saw in Age of Steel and Rise of the Cybermen. So that could be really interesting. And if what we're going to get to meet is how Rose and the Meta Crisis Doctor are getting along, But if that were the case,
another David Tennant.
I know. But if that were the case, what would be the point in making David the 14th Doctor? That would make my point more than anything else. So it would kind of be like, I'm sorry, what was the point in this again? I'm sorry, you've just made it even sillier with like 2 Davids. Like, you could have just had her regenerate into Ncuti Gatwa and then meet the Metacrisis Doctor. That way...
That's true,
That way, Ncuti's legacy as the incoming Doctor and David's legacy as the 10th Doctor would not be touched at all. Because technically, Metacrisis Doctor, not really the Doctor.
No, he ages, he doesn't regenerate. He will grow old alongside Rose. So I mean, that could have
you could have completely redone what the Metacrisis Doctor even looks like. Would he have kept the same hair? Would he have like let himself grey? His hair grey naturally.
Has a beard like out here.
Like how David looked in his online series with Michael Sheen staged. Would he have kept his long COVID lockdown hair? That would have been pretty cool to put that out there in the Doctor Who universe, to see a more kind of older Doctor that is allowed to be human and is allowed to do things like get a job and have a kid with Rose. That would be freaking crazy as hell. So I don't think it is Pete's world, because then Russell would have opened up a whole other thing of why the hell is David the 14th Doctor then? So I don't think that is the case. But again, just by this mere part of the conversation, the idea of a parallel world is exciting to the point of madness.
Well, it would make sense in a way. I mean, Russell was quoted back in 2021. I remember doing a video on it, actually. He was quoted in saying that he thinks Doctor Who should explore the metaverse. And he also obviously is looking with, I mean, there's so many reports now with the Disney stuff that we're going to have an expanded universe, which is a whole other podcast in terms of spin-offs. But, you know, there's talk of spin-offs with villains, and, you know, they're going to sort of bring back the sort of era we had with Torchwood and Sarah Jane Smith with the Sarah Jane Adventures. So if Russell is wanting to follow the trend that obviously Marvel have tapped into, it seems like it's a common trend in sci-fi. You know, why should Doctor Who not expand into the metaverse? Like you say, it opens up a ridiculous number of possibilities. You could have literally the same Doctor, but 1,000 different versions of that Doctor. So this could be, like I say, this is a clean slate. This is the starting on point. This is what will be the nuclei of what will grow into being Ncuti Gatwa's era. And he wants to obviously start it here. This is going to be the springboard. And if he's wanting to bring in spin-offs, start a metaverse idea, this could be it. This could be the Doctor landing on a parallel world. It doesn't have to be Pete's world. It could be, they mentioned it in the Series 2 finale. There's loads of parallel worlds stacked up against each other. The Void was in the middle. Potentially, could this be a parallel world? I think that is very much a possibility. It would save Russell writing around a ton of his old episodes, like I say, with Journey's End and everything. It would save him all of that trouble if it's just a parallel Donna. Or, and this is another theory, I don't know if you've heard this, this might excite you a little bit. I saw a tweet, I'll have to see if I can dig it back up and put it over the video, but it was a quote that Russell made. Was it back in 2008 or something, when he was writing the Sarah Jane Adventures? And then there was a quote that he's made recently, which was very, very similar, and it was regarding the Trickster. So he mentions in that line a parallel world or a dream or a trick. Could Neil Patrick Harris's character possibly be the Trickster?
Wow, or part of the Trickster's brigade, yes.
And he's, in Turn Left, Donna had a parallel world created around her that had the Doctor dying. Is this another Donna Noble parallel world getting created around her by the Trickster's brigade that the 14th Doctor falls into? Could this be a Trickster thing? Obviously, we'll go on to Neil Patrick Harris's character in more detail, but to start this conversation, could this be a Trickster thing? and another turn left kind of thing within a Donna Noble parallel universe.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thought. I hadn't thought of that. It's weird. The Trickster I always see as a Sarah Jane villain that after so many episodes, I think she had a run-in with the Trickster in at least one episode, or at least a two-parter in every series, didn't she?
Yeah, he was her main villain, wasn't he?
He was her arch nemesis to Sarah Jane. So to see the Trickster coming back, and this time it being having large repercussions for the Doctor, because the Doctor doesn't really have run-ins with that villain very much. That would be really quite exciting. And again, it does kind of right around any kind of ruining any previous stories, as you said. So yeah, that would seem like a really, really cool idea for that character, Neil Patrick Harris, to be kind of a member of the Trickster's Brigade, or the Trickster himself, and maybe he's responsible for why the Doctor's now got an old face, or you know, I don't know. It's a really exciting thought. I'd be up for it.
Exactly. So I think that's another thought. I mean, we'll delve a little bit deeper into Neil Patrick Harris's character, because it is clearly a secret, a big secret. I mean, he is a huge name, a great name to have. I know he's a name you very much were excited to see be added to the 60th. So if not the Trickster, there is another character. And this has been rumoured so much to the point to which I actually thought it was true. I thought they'd announced this, but I don't think it is. I think this is a fan theory that has gained so much traction. I think it pretty much is true, even though it isn't. But of course, another big theory is that he is the Celestial Toymaker.
Indeed.
Now,
Yes,
that's another great idea. What do you think of that?
Well, I've never actually seen the first Doctor story in which the Celestial Toymaker features in, so I don't know a great deal about that villain. I know that obviously it's been that if this is the Celestial Toymaker turning back up, then it would be like, I think probably the longest amount of time between villains. Like,
it would be one of them, yeah.
Yeah, like, where the hell have you been for the last? Well, for human beings, for the audience, it's been like 50 odd years since he was last in the show. But for the Doctor, it's probably been like 1,000,000 years or something. So it's like, where have you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. What have you been up to? So yeah, it would be a long time coming for that character. So yeah, I'd be totally up for it. I mean, there are just so many untapped storylines and villains from the classic era that you could just follow through with. You know, like there are just so much untapped potential from the classic era that you could kind of reboot it for the modern era. That you could do, like what James Bond did with Blofeld.
Yeah.
Like, I think Blofeld was rebooted 3 times throughout all of James Bond's era.
Yeah.
So there were like 3 different. So there were like 3 different Blofelds. The more recent one being Christoph Waltz in Spectre. So I think that would be a pretty cool idea, that of Russell kind of reviving old villains and ideas from the classic era, and Stephen Moffat kind of did that to a little bit of credit with the Snowman, and had a little bit of an arc with the Great Intelligence.
I love that. Yeah,
point. Yeah.
Great brain there.
I felt like that idea didn't reach its potential, but that is arguably a storyline that started with was it Web of Fear? And
apparently, I don't know if Web of Fear happened straight after the Snowmen or the Snowmen happened straight after the Web of Fear, but I'm sure there was a reference in the Snowmen to the underground tunnels, I think, in the Web of Fear. But I just love that, the fact that a villain could go from fighting the second Doctor to the 11th. Like, what if the Toymaker has just finished fighting or has just been defeated by the first Doctor and gets revenge by going up against the 14th Doctor? I mean, only Doctor Who could do that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think Doctor Who has a lot more potential to sort of revive old villains and storylines.
It should do that more often. I'm sick of the Daleks and the same old.
Yeah, like old villains that either have potential but have never reached that full potential yet. Like the Rani. I mean, I mean, the Rani apparently is a character that hasn't really reached a great deal of potential in the classic era. Maybe
I'm surprised she's not come back. Very surprised.
Maybe she has in Big Finish. I don't know, but with the Master having been a woman and the Rani could now be a man, so it's not. So yeah, there are all sorts of possibilities out there as to who Neil Patrick Harris's character could be. Whether it's an entirely new character or an old character from the Doctor's past, I'm all for it because Neil Patrick Harris is a very great screen presence, and I've loved him in How I Met Your Mother and Netflix's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and so there's a lot of great stuff as well as a great musical theatre background. So yeah, I'm all for whatever Neil Patrick Harris might be, but considering that Russell is keeping it so much under wraps, I do think there's something big about that character.
Yeah, I was going to see if there was a way that I could pop him on, like a picture of him on the screen. I don't think it's going to allow me to do it, but I think you're using your phone currently, so you won't be able to search it up. But if you literally search for what the Celestial Toymaker looked like in that first Doctor story and what he looks like, or what Neil Patrick Harris's Doctor looks like, they are incredibly similar. It's ridiculous how similar both characters look. And this is how the Celestial Toymaker is described. And this will, again, sort of lead into a couple of the theories we have mentioned. So the Toymaker is immortal, having already lived for billions of years, having been cast out from an alternative universe. He obeys a different set of physical laws. The years of isolation have driven him mad, and he seeks distraction in the playing of games. If the Toymaker loses a game, that world is destroyed, although he is powerful enough to rebuild it. If a contestant loses in the game, he is added to the game as a toy, and if he wins, he is destroyed with the world. So again, the Toymaker, there's a lot of alternative worlds, alternative universes. I can completely see how the pieces are starting to come together with this maybe not being our Earth, a parallel Earth or something. Maybe it's a world the Toymaker has created with Donna, and because Donna's there, and this is another theory that's just literally entered my head like 2 seconds ago, but you asked this question at the start of the podcast, how is the 14th Doctor reunited with Donna? I don't think it's a coincidence. I think he obviously notices that he's got the 10th Doctor's face. He's confused. So obviously he's going to try and find something that is familiar to him. And I guess what's familiar to that face, the last thing that face saw was Wilf, Donna, Donna's husband, that group. So it would make sense if the 14th Doctor is confused and he doesn't know who he is and he's having a bit of an identity crisis. He goes in search of something that's familiar to him. And I think that would be Donna, her family, and maybe the Celestial Toymaker wants to capture the Doctor and thinks, I know how I can lead the Doctor here. I know how I can tempt the Doctor in and catch the Doctor by creating a universe or a world that the Doctor will recognize and feel comfortable in. So I think this could maybe be a world that the Toymaker has created, knowing that it will attract and trap the 14th Doctor. And that's how he gets him there and fights him, and that's why Donna's there, because he's just created a world with her in it. It's not actually Donna. It's not actually the same Donna from before. It's a Donna he's created. It's a world he's created because he wants to trap the 14th Doctor, who, of course, will be in search of familiar surroundings. So it makes perfect sense as well that the Toymaker would use this kind of world and these characters to trap a confused 14th Doctor. So that, again, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say so as well. It definitely makes more sense than anything that I have thought up. I think that is more viable and more exciting than anything that I can think of. It's unique for an anniversary special. It doesn't touch or really affect any former storylines, and that sounds really exciting. I'm all for that. Yes. I mean, it seems like the Celestial Toymaker and the Trickster kind of have a similar kind of skill set, as it were. Yeah. So, do you think maybe the Trickster is kind of has always worked under the Celestial Toymaker? Do you think
that would be cool, wouldn't it?
It would be
cool. The Toymaker's a part of the Trickster's brigade.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that would be awesome, wouldn't it?
I just hope that. I think I'll be genuinely disappointed if Neil Patrick Harris is just the Master. I'd hate that. I think at this point, yes, I'd hate it.
I would, yeah. I don't want that.
Yeah, no, I don't want that at all. And I want the Doctor to really be in front of something formidable, something that is hella powerful. Like
that's not a Dalek or a Cyberman or the Master as well.
Yeah, precisely, yeah. And if you think about it, the Master's not really powerful. The Master's always just basically allied himself or herself with whatever power source he or she can find.
The Cybermen, usually, every time.
Yeah, every single time. So the Master's always kind of cowering, hiding behind a certain villain and pretending like they're in charge when really they're not. So the Master's kind of a bit of a pussy in a sense.
There's a quote.
I'm sorry. As awesome and as insane and as evil as the Master may be, powerful is not something I'd call the Master.
Conniving, I'd say.
Yeah, conniving, evil, yes, but powerful, no. It's not something that the Master's always reaching for power, but never has it, or at least never has it for long.
Yeah.
But I would like the Doctor to go up against a villain that he is absolutely ill-equipped to fight. Like there's always something that I feel like, even no matter how big and grand a plot or a villain seems to be for the Doctor, I'm always confident. Yeah, the Doctor's going to win.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, we all know deep down the Doctor's going to win, but he's going to have to win in order to get to Ncuti Gatwa and keep going after that. But if you get what I mean, there's a certain sense of, I want to be unsure if the Doctor's going to come out of this one unscathed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
I'm not expecting Infinity War and Endgame level how this affects the universe, but I do want there to be something big that happens that's going to affect the Doctor from then on out. Something that obviously isn't going to send fans into a rampage like A Certain Timeless Child story. So something that's exciting, and the Doctor is going to kind of feel the effects of going forward. And I hope that the return of potentially Neil Patrick Harris's Toymaker could be that villain.
I would love it. I'm sold on it just by talking about it. I've got my excitement up now. My hopes are up that he is the Toymaker. I hope he is. I mean, he looks very similar to it. It would work within the story. It would be great to see a villain come back after all this time. And I'm just getting a bit tired of the Master, Cybermen, the Daleks. It seems like they are the only three villains, maybe the Angels, who can pose a genuine threat to the Doctor. The rest are like Monster of the Week, who will be defeated quite easily. I would like to see even if it's an old villain, maybe he's a brand new villain who's been created and he's going to be just as awesome. That would be great as well. But yeah, just a villain who is a genuine threat, who could move up into that bracket of being one of the most dangerous foes the Doctor could face. And if he's not the Toymaker, I hope he's at least that. But I really want him to be the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I would. Yeah, there's just something in the show that I feel like if Russell is wanting to show audiences abroad and the big House of Mouse, if he's wanting to show those people what Doctor Who is capable of, he needs to pull out the big guns. And to this day, the most underutilized thing that I've seen the Daleks in was the 50th anniversary. So
it was just a reference, wasn't it? They were there as a reference.
Yeah, exactly. They were just there just because it's the 50th. We've got to have the Daleks, right? And I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of the filming pictures. I don't know if the Daleks are in the 60th. But I do hope I don't see them anywhere. I don't want them to be a villain or just a tiny little footnote, a little cameo like, oh, there they are. It's nice to see them.
Again.
Yeah, just keep them away. Just keep them away for a little while. The Daleks, the Cybermen, let the Doctor face some real foes. Some ones that are seriously bad frickin' news. Ones that can even make the Doctor's two hearts skip a beat. Skip beats. I would love for that to be the case, for some really big foes to come out. Like the Celestial Toymaker, like
the Time Meddler.
Yeah, like the Time Meddler, like the like Omega.
Even the Rani coming back would be
yeah, exactly. Just bring in some old foes that haven't been seen in decades.
Sutekh.
Yeah, exactly. Some villains that could really put the shits up the Doctor and really make him go, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I don't know what's going to happen. It's like in The End of Time when Wilf sort of says, oh no, sorry, not The End of Time. It's I think it's Journey's End or Stolen Earth, where Donna just goes, "You've got a plan, haven't you?" And then the Doctor's just like silent, like, "I don't have a plan."
I remember that scene. Yeah, she was terrified because he had nothing.
Yeah, literally, the Doctor being silent and stoic faced like that it can be the most scariest thing. That is the most scariest thing to happen in the room, when the Doctor has no plan, no idea whatsoever. You want the Doctor to start monologuing, have a great big speech, start jumping about like an excited little kid, and have a freaking plan. You want him to get that sonic screwdriver out, start buzzing about with all sorts of gadgets and spout all sorts of blooming science bullshit or whatever. you want the Doctor to be doing that in
control. To be in control.
You want the Doctor to be in control of a certain situation. And I hope I see this more going forward, either in these 60th specials or with Ncuti Gatwa as well, where I want to see the Doctor really challenged. as a character.
Out of control.
Yeah.
Not in the comfort zone.
Yeah, like the companion is genuinely put in a position where, oh crap, the Doctor doesn't have a plan, has no idea what they're doing. Like, it is the scariest thing to be in the room with. I mean, it's one thing being in the room with like Davros or the Dalek Emperor or frickin', you know, the Cyber God or whatever. Like, it's just, that's actually quite a good idea for a villain. Write that down. Cyber God. I quite like that. But yeah, like it's one thing being in a room with those, but being in a room with those villains and a Doctor that has a massive like question mark hovering over his head, like, I don't know what I'm doing. That is enough for any companion to be like, right, I'm out. I'm out. Bye. You know,
yeah.
I came along with you for travels because I knew you knew what you were doing. But if you don't, then we're all screwed. So I'd love for that to be the case in more episodes where I feel that the Doctor is out of his depth.
Yeah, I agree. I also think the Doctor must surely be getting tired. Because every time the Daleks pop up, the Doctor's like, oh, it's the Daleks or the Cybermen. But surely by now the Doctor must be like, you again? For God's sake. Like, I would love to see the Doctor's reaction to a villain who he has not seen. And like you said, it will be thousands of years to the Doctor, if not longer. Like, if it's the Toymaker, the Doctor has not seen the Toymaker in that long. It would be genuine shock and fear. Like, surely by now the Doctor's like, I've defeated the Daleks, literally. It's like Christmas. I do it once a year, every year. It's like an annual holiday for me. The Daleks appear. I defeat. You know, the Doctor, they still try and make the Doctor go, oh, it's the Daleks. But really, you know, the Doctor should be like, oh, it's you again. So I'd like to see more villains come back who have not been back in a long time. And there are plenty that they could go with. And I think the Toymaker is definitely one of them. We've not spoken about him. Let's finish on him, of course. Mr. Ncuti Gatwa. We cannot forget. He is not the next Doctor. He is the Doctor after. Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor. We touched upon him earlier. Obviously, he has only been seen in a strip back. And when I say strip back, I don't mean that in a dirty way. Obviously, he's not stripped off or anything. But a stripped back version of the 14th Doctor's costume with just the white shirt and the tie kind of around his neck. So yeah, Ncuti Gatwa, what do you think his part will be in this? Because, like we say, apparently he wasn't free to film, as in he is the full-time Doctor. So what part do you think he'll play? Will he only be in the final of the 3 episodes to show the transition between one and the other? Will he be like a watcher from Logopolis who hovers in the background of the 14th Doctor, like his pending death and his pending next incarnation is always, and like the Watcher did, go into the 14th Doctor when he, or is he on the edge? Is he stuck on the edge? Where do you think his Doctor fits into this?
I would love it if they confirmed that the Watcher, even when it was the 5th Doctor going into the 4th Doctor and then turning into Peter Davidson, I'd like them to confirm that a Doctor, when they're stuck in the edge, that is the Watcher.
Yeah,
I'd like for that to be the case, because I think that would be a cool little connection and sewing up a little bit of Doctor Who sort of questions that we've had throughout the show. Yeah. I think it would be cool if the Edge and being the Watcher are somehow connected. And I don't know really, because I do believe that when the 60th was being filmed, Ncuti Gatwa had very limited availability. I think he was shooting the Barbie movie at the time, where he's playing the Black Ken doll in that movie. And I'm quite surprised, to be honest, that he even is the Doctor. After Sex Education blew up, I really thought that Doctor Who was going to be a show that he wouldn't do, because I don't know, I thought he was going to really get some big job offers, Not that the role of the Doctor isn't a big job offer.
This is the biggest job offer.
Yeah, no, it is the biggest job offer. Don't get me wrong, but I thought he was going to become like a Hollywood A-lister or something. So that's just what I meant. That I thought that his career was going to take off into Hollywood at that point. So I'm surprised he's even the Doctor in a way. But I do think that his availability is quite limited. So I think in his time, when David is the 14th Doctor, I do think that he is going to be mainly contained, trapped in the Edge. Yeah. And I think that that's the only way that they could do it. And when I saw and someone brought this up to me, I think, I can't remember if it was you or if it was somebody else, I'm not too sure, but when he was shooting the interview with Millie Gibson during her announcement, the TARDIS was in the background, but there was also a set. So they may have already started shooting Series 14 now at this point.
I think it's very close. If it's not started, it's December.
Yeah. So I don't know if Ncuti Gatwa is already starting to work on his look, because when he was first cast, he had dyed bleach blonde hair, I believe. I think he dyed his hair blonde. So I was starting to think, oh, is his Doctor going to have that hairstyle? And I was like, oh no, it's back to being black hair again. And then does he have a mustache in that little clip that we're seeing him in?
I don't think so. It's forbidden for the Doctor to have facial hair, I think, at this point.
Yeah, for some reason, unless you're John Hurt, then you can get away with it. But
yeah, well, of course, it is John. It is John Hurt.
Yes, it was John Hurt. Yes, but what I meant by that was that people are starting to think that Ncuti Gatwa's scenes may have in the 60th may have been kind of like a bit of a last minute thing. Like,
he did have a mustache, by the way. He did.
Sorry,
he had a mustache.
Right.
He did.
Okay.
He did.
Well, that could have been because he was shooting that film at the time, so he had his mustache for that. It's kind of like a Henry Cavill in Justice League kind of situation. But except hopefully they don't have to CGI it in. But basically the point with that I'm trying to make with that is that, like, I think that it was very tacked on, those scenes, and they were written very later on. I think Russell went and filmed everything with David and Catherine and got all their filming out of the way, and then Ncuti came in a bit later on when he had the time. So I think that's what went on, and so for that reason, I have a thought that Ncuti's involvement in the 60th specials might be quite limited.
Yeah, I'm coming to the same conclusion. I think they probably had him in the trailer to get hype, because I think if he wasn't in that trailer, people would have asked where is he? Where is Ncuti? And they had to confirm yes, he's in it, whatever. So I think, yeah, he could be at the very, very end. It's weird that he had a mustache in that scene, yet in all the pictures he's had since, when he was obviously with Millie Gibson and stuff, he's clean shaved. So if he's not a Watcher sort of character, which I don't think he is, although that would be my preferred idea, and he's maybe not stuck on the edge, whether Russell will carry that idea over, I don't know. The only other theory I can think of is that somehow, obviously, the 14th Doctor's body is absolutely screwed because of the regeneration and the degeneration and the confusion and everything. Maybe the 14th Doctor's maybe he just can't regenerate again because his body is just screwed up that much from what the Master did. Maybe, I don't know, the Master style with Mrs. Father, he needs a body, and maybe Ncuti's character is a body he can inhabit or take or what, because I just find it weird that Ncuti's character in that trailer has gotten a mustache, shouts what is going on here, like he doesn't know what the situation is. He doesn't know where he is, who he is. If he was the Doctor, maybe he'd be a bit more aware of what was going on, but he obviously says, what the hell is going on here? So another possible theory is that he takes the body of Ncuti Gatwa from another character, and that's how he becomes the Doctor. I don't know, but I'm just glad he's going to be in it at some point. I think maybe having him in it too much could confuse things. Maybe we have to settle with David's 14th Doctor for the first 2 parts. Maybe they hint and indicate at Ncuti's Doctor in a Watcher-type way in the first and second part using CG or clips they might have filmed in a studio. And then, of course, at the end of the third, we're obviously going to see how that transitions.
Yeah.
But I'm not sold it'll be a full-on normal, ordinary regeneration from 14 to 15. I don't think that's going to be straightforward. I think there is going to be some sort of body is screwed, confusion, 14 can't regenerate and somehow needs Ncuti's body. So I can't see that being a straightforward regeneration. I think there's going to be a twist in there as to how 14 becomes 15 and whether it involves the Edge, him being trapped there, or him being a different body. I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be something slightly different about that regeneration and how Ncuti comes in.
Yeah, I don't know how desperate the Doctor would have to be to take another person's body.
Yeah, sounds a bit too master-like, doesn't it?
Yeah, that seems like a moral no-no for someone like the Doctor to resort to. It would be interesting, and what the ramifications of that would be. That for the first time ever, the Doctor did not regenerate in a traditional way. That he had to take someone else's body. So that would have been. So that'll be genuinely quite interesting. And what are the psychological ramifications of that? Like, this body isn't mine. What do I do? Can I even call myself the Doctor anymore? So that might be another thing you might have to deal with. And yeah, I don't know. I think that the idea of the Edge is something that was, of course, introduced in Power of the Doctor, and
it's a great idea as well.
But looking back at Power of the Doctor, and in particular the scenes in the Edge, what was that scene for, other than a bit of nostalgia and seeing 4 Doctors?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was because the 13 was sort of obviously she'd been booted out of her own body by the Master.
Yeah.
And was kind of in between being in her body and not being in her body. So maybe it's the same with Ncuti. He's kind of not quite in David's body, but he will be.
So I get why the scene was there. I'm not saying it was a pointless scene or anything. It was there to lend a bit of beautiful nostalgia, to reintroduce some classic Doctors. But also it was there obviously to, show to the audience 13's okay. She's in trouble, but she's okay. She's not like gone forever or anything. So it was obviously just to show the audience that. But to me, it seems a little bit weird that we just have a scene in the Edge and there being quite weak reasons for that to even be there.
And it's never seen again.
Yeah, it's never seen again beyond that scene. Well, a bit at the end as well when the Master's being forced to regenerate back into 13. So that obviously is when we see it, but that's the last time we see it. And I would hate for that idea that I quite like. I like the idea that in between regenerations, the outgoing Doctor is kind of shaking hands with the incoming one and being like, right, tag, you're it, let's go. Your turn, pal. So that, to me, I love that idea, and I hope that Russell does roll with that and continue with that. And it seems like so far, the only kind of narrative avenue in which David can be the 14th Doctor while Ncuti Gatwa can still appear as the Doctor, but kind of not be the Doctor yet at the same time.
Yeah.
So the Edge seems to kind of be the only way that I can think of that, considering that in Power of the Doctor, it didn't seem to be all that important to the ultimate story of Jodie's last episode.
Yeah, I feel like it to have at least some kind of element of a multi-Doctor story, they're probably going to have David and Ncuti together alongside each other in some way. So instead of it just going from David to Ncuti, they could meet on the Edge, and that's a different type of regeneration. It's David passing the torch in a way onto, passing the baton onto Ncuti. And that could be how the 14th Doctor changes into the 15th on the Edge. He kind of passes the banter of the Doctor on to Ncuti, and then Ncuti leaves the Edge and he's the Doctor. Could be a different type of regeneration.
Yeah.
But there's
but I do want to bring up the one point I said to you before starting that there were only two reasons that I could get on board with David being our current Doctor again. I already said one of those reasons, them being if he wasn't the only current Doctor we were getting, like if he was zigzagging between Matt and Peter and Chris, and so that's one, but the other one would be if there was an arc with that journey that David's been on with the 10th and 14th Doctors.
Yeah.
Like his last the parallels between his last words as the Doctor and him suddenly coming back, those aren't lost on us. He said, "I don't want to go."
He said it twice. He said it in the 50th.
He said it twice. It broke our hearts hearing him say it a second time in the 50th. So, but then to see him come back, my first thought was, "Oh crap! He wasn't joking. He really didn't want to go." To the point where he's actually freaking back.
Yeah.
So I would love him to have an arc in which the journey that he goes on with the Celestial Toymaker, with Donna, whatever's happening there. I'd love for it to be the case where whatever journey he's going on, by the time we get to his last episode as the 14th Doctor, he is saying, I'm ready to go.
I think that's a great arc. Yeah, he's on the edge and he's like, I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be brilliant because I'm a sucker for closure and something that kind of feels full circle, even though it's like 12 years later.
Why not?
I am kind of up for that idea of his Doctor kind of finally going, you know what, I'm ready to go. It's time. It's the end, and that would make it an absolute concrete. Cannot come back. You're done, David. Love you a bit, but this was a one-off. So it kind of.
He'll return in the 70th.
yeah. No, he'll
still be as slim as he was. He'll still have sticky up hair, and we'll all be wondering how the flipping hell he still looks that good at 61 or however old he'll be.
I swear, he bathes in the fountain of youth.
He does.
He does. He just, he bathes in it.
I'd love to bathe him in it. Anyway.
Yeah. I think I'd love to bathe with him in it.
Wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all?
Wouldn't we all?
I think
Matthew's straight, by the way.
David puts that to the test. He really does.
He does. He does. He really makes you question things, doesn't he?
He does.
But anyway,
on
that note. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, if we have him ending things by going, "I'm ready to go," if that story has kind of like a completion feel to it of not only his Doctor's journey, but David himself and his journey throughout the show.
I'd love that. I think that's another great idea. To tie the 10th and 14th Doctors together in a way would be really, really good if Russell could do that. there's going to be references to the 10th Doctor. Obviously, he can't not have his face without questioning why and referring back to when he was the 10th Doctor. So I think inevitably there will be some sort of crossover regarding that. So yeah, I think the idea of him going to the Edge, maybe he does something in this episode with Wilf or Donna or whatever that gives him some form of closure, and he is just ready to regenerate, and he passes that baton on. Because, you know, if he's struggling and he doesn't want to regenerate and he's questioning it, he'll be on the edge. That's the whole point of the Edge. So I can see how it would bring that in, and he's on the edge and he's like, right, it's almost like I'm ready to jump. It's like, right, I'm ready to do it. And Ncuti's Doctor's alongside saying, you know, I'm from the future or whatever, or the universe is broken down, I'm your future self. And he goes, are you ready to become me? And that's how he passes the baton on and becomes Ncuti's Doctor. So I think that's another great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether I brought this up in the Power of the Doctor review or whatever, but I did kind of have a thought of what if his Doctor has always been like on the sidelines, like sort of always been in the edge. Like while 3 Doctors have came and gone, he has kind of just been like, no, I don't want to go.
He just can't get over that edge.
Yeah, he just can't get over that part, and then with the forced regeneration, it opened something up that made it possible for him to squeak through and be able to come back into being again. So that seems like that might be interesting. I would love that to kind of be like the first scene where he's kind of over a cliff kind of a thing, and it's like you're seeing beyond the edge, and he's like, I don't want to go, and then, you know, and so like he sees kind of like a split in the background. It's kind of like, you know, regeneration energy bursting, and he's like, this is my chance. I can be in the universe again. You know, I can exist again. So he comes through and he's in a different suit, and it's all sorts. So yeah, I think that would be great, and then that would kind of lead forward into that journey that he goes on throughout those episodes, throughout those specials, and then we end it with him saying, I'm ready to go. So it sort of gives it a full circle kind of a thing. I'd love that.
Get us in the writer's room. I mean, the theories we've come up with tonight, my word, they've been brilliant. We'll have to wrap these up in like one short snippet theory video. 5 theories for the 60th. We'll have to put that in. But we will have to wrap this up. Wow, I've thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. It's made me so excited for the 60th, and the theories and the potential of what we could be getting. And it's still just under a year, or well, it's probably going to be around about now. We're recording this on the 30th of November. So I dare say in exactly a year's time, 23rd, 30th, we'll probably be watching a 60th special in a year's time. So it's crazy that it's that far ahead, but I'm glad we've been able to at least discuss what we've got so far, because no doubt we're only going to find out more. So I'm glad we've been able to draw a line under what we know so far. Yeah, I mean, it's been great to do a theory video again. I think this is another first since I've been back. I think this is the first time in over 5 years that you and me have been able to do a theory video. So since when we used to do our episode previews, and speculate on next time videos and things. So I think this is the first time we've been able to speculate and theorize, which I gotta say has been tremendously fun. This is probably the most fun I've had with the podcast yet. Brilliant. Well, we're going to keep on rolling. We're going to keep on chucking them out. Again, we don't know what the next podcast will be. We never do. You can tell we're unbelievably organized. But if you've enjoyed this podcast, of course, drop a like. Do subscribe for more, whether you are listening to this on a podcast provider, subscribe on there, leave us a review, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe on there. and hit the bell so you never miss an upload. Of course, leave us a comment, leave us a review. We would love to know your theories on the 60th as well, on the 14th Doctor, David Tennant, Donna, Ncuti, Neil Patrick Harris's character, how you think it all knits together. And yeah, we'd love to see that in the comment section below. Like I say, we don't know what the next pod is, do we? We never do.
No, we just basically make it up as we go along. We just talk about whatever subject interests us that week.
Leave a suggestion on what you'd like us to discuss.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
But yeah, until next time, guys, thank you very much for joining us. James, thank you very much for joining me here for another wonderful pod.
Anytime.
We will see you all next time.
Ta-ra.